Welcome to the Fortified Project. I'm Tamas Finta. Today I'm in North Carolina in a town called Fuquay Varina, and I'm here with Tim Anderson, founder, co-founder, head trainer at Original Strength Institute. So what is Original Strength Institute, Tim?
So we are a small private training studio or group training studio where we simply remind people how they were designed to move so that they can become stronger and healthier and live their life the way they want to.
Sounds awesome. So just about your background, I want the viewers know where you come from, what sort of background. Now I've met you a few times in the past, so I know a bit about you. I know you used to be with the fire department. So what else do we need to know about you?
So I was born and raised in this town, Fuquay Varina. I used to be a professional firefighter. I also moonlighted as a personal trainer during that time. The way this started was I got some overuse injuries, and I was looking for corrective exercises to not hurt anymore, because I was too stupid to just stop doing what I was doing, right?
Yes, yeah. Yes, it's a man thing, isn't it?
Or it's just just dumb. I was dumb. So I learned how to do corrective exercises, still wasn't getting what I wanted because I wasn't stopping doing what I was doing and I was still hurting and began to feel fragile. Yep. So I just asked God to show me how to train to be bulletproof because I liked Superman and I wanted to be Superman. And he showed me how to move like a child moves and taught me that we're all designed to be strong and healthy, and we all still have the same movement template that a child has. So you can press reset on your body and get your strength, health, mobility, and life back.
Okay.
And so that's how this place started. That's really my background in a nutshell. I'm not a firefighter anymore.
Right. Because
this was way too much fun to continue doing that.
So you mentioned you moving like a child moves. So we start moving without help. We don't have a personal trainer as a baby. Very few babies can afford to pay personal trainers. Somehow our nervous system learns and works it out, what comes next. So tell me about the movements you incorporate in your system.
Right, so a child is born with a developmental sequence, and that is like a program, a series of programs that's designed to make the child strong without anybody teaching the child how to do it, so that they can explore their world and conquer their world. Mm-hmm. So inside of that sequence are simple things that we are all designed to do, like breathe properly with your diaphragm, control your eyes and your head movements, rolling on the floor, rocking back and forth, and our gait pattern, which could be crawling, rocking, skipping, running, those type things. Those are the movements that we are all designed to do, and those are the movements that we remind people how to do in order to restore their strength.
Okay. I've done a couple of your workshops in Australia, and I've been using some of the movements, especially with older population. I'm older. I'm referring to 35 plus.
More mature people.
Oftentimes, I found even with much younger population, there is not a lot of movement ability in this day and age, because of the stress, sitting too much, commuting to work. Have you found the same? All these movements sound like very easy movements. So sometimes I show these movements to a guy, and sometimes the response is, I don't feel like I got to work out. I don't feel the pump. So how does this fit into someone's training program, or where does this movement system comes in?
Well, so there's a lot of issues there. One of the things we try to do here is change the paradigm of what health and strength is, or how you're supposed to get there. Mm-hmm. So what we try to do here is teach everybody out the gate that their body's amazing and it's wonderful, and it knows how to heal and it knows how to be strong. And then when we're doing that, we're really telling them that they are strong. They may not realize that they're strong, but they have everything in their body that they need to be strong. So we really try to change the paradigm of what strength training is. It's something that's already in you, something you own. It's not something you do outside of yourself to try to become or to try to get. So really what we try to do is erase the idea of exercise and what it's not, what it is, what it's not. So it doesn't have to hurt. It doesn't have to be ridiculously hard. And it can be simple. And simple is oftentimes the best route to get anywhere. Like if you and I were gonna go from here to there, if we just walk straight there, we're gonna get there a lot faster than if we meander over there, we wander over here. I mean, we can do all this really cool stuff along the way, and that's great if we want to.
Yes.
But not because we have to. If we just wanna go over there, we just wanna go over there. So really, we just try to change people's mindset of what it is to be strong, how they can get there.
Mm-hmm. So Tim, as a trainer, professional trainer, do you find that guys, because 45 is for men over 40, so I'm gonna talk about this demographic a little bit more than other demographics. Do you find that a lot of the guys go about becoming stronger, becoming fitter the wrong way, missing laying down foundations and such?
So I think a lot of things. I think the more complex something seems, the more people want it, or the more they think it has to work because
it's very fancy.
It's very fancy, and I paid a lot of money for it, or it has a lot of science behind it, or there's just so many steps. It's got to be right. And then I just think that we just have a lot of misunderstandings and wrong notions about how to get effective methods for doing things. But even in today's world is different. So we're very blessed and fortunate that we have a lot of technology and we have a lot of science. And therefore it's made our lives really easier, and which is a great time to live. Consequently though, we have to do less than we ever had to do before. So even if a person's over 40, yeah, that's one thing. But today's 20-year-old to me is like yesterday's 40-year-old.
Right.
So even though I love Fortified because I'm in my 40s, but I believe that...
Well, we haven't mentioned this. So do you actually qualify to be on this program, Tim?
I think I'm qualified. I'm a card-carrying member of the 40s. I'm in the 40s. But I don't have any problem imagining or believing or just knowing that, well, I've got the body of a 20-year-old. But I also know there are a lot of 20-year-olds that have the body of a 50, 60-year-old. And they should. But then neither should a 60-year-old. But yeah, there's I think a lot of different weird things. And I don't know if I answered your question, but...
Yeah, well...
Just dial me in.
Well, we're talking, many different things will come up. I think everything is useful. Everything you mentioned is very, very useful. So please take me through your intake process. So I walk in, I'm a 47-year-old guy. Last time I exercised was around college, played some sport, occasionally kick the ball with the kids, and go for a hike, nothing major. So I come in and I tell you, I want to get fitter, because this is the answer I get from most of the new clients that come to see me, and ask them what is your goal, and they tell me, just want to get fitter. So that's a very vague answer. I can't qualify that answer, so I need to dig a bit deeper. But back to the question, if I come in to your place, what are the things you're looking at first? So to reduce the possibility of hurting me.
So after you come in, we would exchange pleasantries, and I would find out why you're here. And you may tell me that you want to be more fit. To me, no matter what you tell me though, what you're really telling me is you want to feel better. Whether it's better about yourself, better about your body, just feel better how you move, whatever. You just want to feel better. Most people come here because they just don't feel good about something, usually themselves. So once we go through why you're here, the first thing we would do here is I would take you through an original strength screen and assessment. Because I want to see how you're moving, because it may be that how you're moving greatly affects how you feel. It's crazy, right? So I would run you through an original strength screen and assessment, and I would see what your body is telling me that you're lacking. And then from there, I would have you do those things I think you're lacking and see how you feel, how you move. And then I would probably give you homework to go home with to practice. And the cool thing is we'll know within minutes if your body is, what you're lacking is actually what you're lacking, because you're going to feel different, you're going to move different. Anyway, and because of that, you're likely to go home and actually do the homework I give you to do, because it will make a difference. So whether or not you ever come back here or not, you've won. Because if you just do that, your life's going to get better. You're going to feel better. So the reason you came here, you're going to go home with. But if you do come back, well, then you get to do other fun stuff with us, because you'll do that often. Every time you come in, we'll press reset and try to restore your body's foundation. But after we get that solid foundation, we're also going to start now stacking strength on top of it.
Right.
Through just normal human movements, the Dan John movements.
Dan John movements.
Pull, push, squat, carry,
and
hinge.
Just remind me, we have a story related to Dan John and his house, so we're gonna come back to that.
Yes. Okay.
Just,
come back
just to stay with this this thought for a second longer. What are the most common, typical issues you see in men over 40 who haven't moved much or moved in ways that caused injuries, even more tightness? Maybe they chose the wrong method for training, and instead of feeling better, they might feel a bit bigger and stronger, but somehow that tightness, stiffness still around. So what are the most common issues?
From a movement standpoint, I think the most common thing we see here, or anywhere probably, is breathing. People just don't necessarily breathe the way they're designed to breathe, especially guys, because we want to be big-chested and want to look strong.
Yeah.
We learn how to breathe up here, so we forget how to breathe down here. But strength is down here and not up here. So that would be the number one movement thing. From a guy in their 40s standpoint, I think probably the biggest issue is they know they want to get in shape or feel better, but they're operating off of their memory for how they may have done it when they were 18, 15, or 16. So they go from being, say, 45 to going to get back in shape, and they jump back into what they did when they were 15, 16, or 17, and they jumped in way too deep. Their body wasn't young, soft, and pliable like it was back then, and they're operating off their memory, so they do something that was well too advanced for their body at that time, and they end up hurting themselves. So now they've created another issue.
Right.
But those would be the two biggest areas.
Breathing?
Breathing for sure, and then operating off of what you used to operate off of when it really no longer applies to you. Not that it shouldn't, sometimes some things take time to get back to.
A lot has happened. Family happened, mortgage happened, building a business happened.
So if you're in your mid-40s, you've got at least 20 to 25 years worth of history built up in your body that you never had when you were a teenager.
Yep.
You didn't have any history built up in your body yet. You were still a spring chicken. So,
right. Let's go back to Dan John. Before I came here, we were in Salt Lake City interviewing Dan John, and you told me a really, really funny story this morning over breakfast involving Sirius Black, the dog, and your type of movements.
So, first of all, Dan John is my friend, and I love Dan John, and Dan John talks really fast, so I'm going to try to talk like Dan John. I'm just kidding. But I was at Dan John's house, and he was nice enough to let me stay there. He says I touch a lot of things, but I don't understand that. I didn't touch anything, Dan. It's up your dog. Anyway, so Dan has a dog named Sirius Black. Beautiful dog, very strong looking dog, as Dan John should have. But so I like to press reset, and I know, because I know what I know, or I know how the body works, I will do certain things because it's use it or lose it. So I like to use my body so that I don't lose it. So I was pressing reset, and I was just doing cross crawls, standing like this. Well, it turns out, if you do cross crawls in front of Sirius Black, the dog freaks out.
And cross crawl is, despite the name, it's actually standing up.
Yeah, I was
touching elbow to the knee, right?
Yeah, so you just stand up, you touch opposite arm to opposite leg.
We'll play with these movements a bit more.
Back and forth. Well, for whatever reason, that makes Sirius Black really either very uncomfortable or just very aggressive. So the dog, Dan, your dog bit me in the ass. So I'm standing there doing cross crawls, and freaking dog bites me in the butt. I'm like, what the heck? Turns out, I didn't learn the first time, but I figured out the pattern. Every time I did cross crawls, the dog would start running and sneak up behind me and bite me. So thank you, Dan. I learned a lot from Sirius Black.
Tim, I really want you to tell us about your biggest achievements in life, and it doesn't necessarily have to be strength related, like you managed to lift the heaviest kettlebell you own or pull the heaviest chain. That's fine too. Or what are the 3 biggest achievements in your life?
You know, nobody's ever asked me that, so give me a second. Probably the biggest was I was fortunate enough to marry a very nice lady. who for some reason has been married to me for 22 years. So that's a blessing. I don't know how anybody could do that. And I have two wonderful teenagers. That's probably the biggest things I've done. If I'm really truly being honest, everything else is just fluff. Probably the most recent biggest achievement I have accomplished is, I told you about this, I got sick while I was in the Philippines from a nasty intestinal disorder. And the worst night of that was the day before I was supposed to fly back home, 20 something hours in the air. And I survived. I didn't think I was going to. So that was probably my most recent biggest achievement, that I'm actually still here being able to talk to you right now. Because
this memory is very, very fresh.
It was very fresh in my mind, but man, that was rough. So you're thankful for the little things like being able to breathe and eat solid food and smile. So that's my most recent biggest achievement.
I like that.
Everything else is fluff. Like everything, the studio is a blessing. Being able to teach people that they're wonderfully made. Honestly, I get the most joy out of that. My biggest satisfaction is telling someone how they're designed, but then inviting them to experience it. Because if they experience it, it changes their life forever.
Right.
And that never gets old. So that is probably the greatest thing I get to do, is to do that. So I guess that's an achievement.
Well, it was beautifully put. Thank you. So one more question, because it's an important one. All these programs out there available, trainers trying to help people. There's always obstacles. Life is full of obstacles, and everyone has challenges. One of the most common objections from people when it comes to training or just looking after themselves, well, I don't have time for that. What are your challenges, or what have you had these challenges and you have overcome them? What's the advice you can give people about the challenges?
Well, I've done a lot of things wrong. I have been blessed in the fact that, they say one man's trash is another man's treasure. So one man's sickness could be another man's power, right? I've got this really weird thing where discipline and regiment and daily routine is not a problem for me. Almost to a fault though. But I do know how to use it to my advantage, and I know how to move frequently, and I know what's important to me, so that helps fuel my discipline. I would say though, for the average person, like I had this conversation this morning with a complete stranger who was like, well, I'm old now, I'm in my 50s, I can't do the things I used to do. And I would think, well, I know that that's nonsense. So the biggest challenge, I think, for people is that you got to let go of what you think you know and be open to a different possibility. Because I guarantee you, everything you want is inside of you and it's within your grasp. It's not outside of you. Like, there is no magic sets and rep scheme. There is no magic exercise. There is no magic diet. No magic what you could live off of saltine crackers, but with the right mindset, you could have the body and the health you wanted to. Believe me, I know after being sick in the Philippines. But you could, because it's a mindset thing. It's a what do you believe thing. So if you believe that the answer is somewhere else, you'll never find it. And you'll be absolutely right though, that you can't do that. Right. Your best days are behind you because you're not thinking right. But nobody's best days are behind them. It's just
unless you've decided that
you've decided that they are. Because where the brain goes, where the mind goes, the body's going to follow. It'll do absolutely what you tell it to do. Your body's a good pet. It's like your best friend dog, right? It'll do what you want it to do. Right. But it'll do what you want it to do. It'll do what you tell it to do.
And it will do what you enable it to do.
Yes. So if you believe the answer is elsewhere, that's where it's at. But it's not. And that's the trap.
Nice.
It's in you. So nothing. You can always press reset. You can always restore your strength. You can, because that's your design.
Books. You love reading books, but you don't just read books, you have actually written some. You want to tell us about those books, Tim?
So I've written a few. They were all accidental, especially the first one. So the first book I wrote was called Becoming Bulletproof, which was later rewritten to be called Pressing Reset, Original Strength Reloaded. After that, I wrote Pressing Reset Restoration for the older population, not 40 plus, but maybe 60 plus. And then I wrote a book called Habitual Strength, which I really like. That was one of my favorites. And then my most recent book is called The Becoming Bulletproof Project, because I went full circle back to Superman because I really love the name Becoming Bulletproof. So I wrote The Becoming Bulletproof Project. And that was my most recent book.
Okay. So what's the last one is about? What is the main thought, the philosophy of it?
The main part of that one is, and this might sound weird, is that I want to be Superman, and there's a reason I want to be Superman, and that's because that desire was put in me. So the main point of that book is that we're all designed to be superheroes, all designed to be strong and capable and able to live an amazing life throughout life. And that is in us, and that if we're willing to engage that thought, we can tease that out. We can discover it and one way to do that is through physical activity, to learn how to make hard things easy and learn how to get very comfortable doing uncomfortable things. And if you can do that, you can discover that, well, you can really do anything you want to do. Mm-hmm. And that's when you realize that maybe I am Superman, or maybe I'm Batman or Wolverine, or whoever you like.
Awesome. Okay. So guys, if you're interested, these books are available on...
They're available on Amazon.com and also originalstrength.net. Really easy to get them from Amazon, though.
So now, Tim, if you don't mind, I would like to ask you to take me through some of the movements you think would be beneficial for a 40-plus guy.
Okay.
And we can go from very easy ones through intermediate to a little bit more advanced ones, because I'm sure there are guys out there watching this who have been working out, have been looking after themselves and want to try something new, something that is very useful.
Before you go, make sure you subscribe to Fortified's YouTube channel. All you got to do is click subscribe and you're all set. You won't miss any of these wonderful interviews or all the other wonderful things that Tamas brings out.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tim.
No worries.
Let's move. These exercises, there is one more very important thing I wanted to talk about, and I would like you to give me your experience and advice on milestones. Why you have them, what sort of milestones you give your clients in your facility, in your program, and why those milestones matter.
So here, and in my own training, I like to do things in blocks of time. Because I'm trying to develop work capacity, which in my mind is the way to take the brakes and limits off the body. So it might be that in my minimal milestone for me and what I try to get other people to is 10 minutes. So it might be that I pick a task to do for 10 minutes of work, and I'm not done until I accumulate that 10 minutes of work. So if my job is to, say, crawl on my hands and feet like a leopard for 10 minutes, I want to accumulate 10 minutes of work, and that's important because I can use that as a gauge for my progress. So, for example, if my goal is to crawl for 10 minutes of work, I have two watches. I have the one watch I start when I get started, and I crawl until I have to stop, and then I stop that time. But the other watch is still accumulating actual time. So when I'm ready and I can crawl again, I start my watch back, I crawl again. Well, I can accumulate 10 minutes of work, and when I do, I'm done. My task is complete, I'm done. But it may have taken me an actual 45 minutes to crawl 10 minutes worth of work. That's great, because now I have parameter, I have measurements, I have data, so I can look at it and measure my progress. So 3 weeks from now, if I crawl for 10 minutes of work, but I do it in 22 minutes, well, I know that I have doubly improved my ability to do that task. In 4 weeks from then, if I can crawl for 10 minutes of work in 12 minutes, well, I'm a lot stronger and I'm a lot more efficient, and I know I'm moving better. And then 5 days later, when I can crawl for 10 minutes in 10 minutes, I can do anything. I can do anything I want to do. So it doesn't have to be crawling. It can be, you can pick any task. It can be carries. You might want to carry something from A to B and B to A, until 10 minutes runs out. That's fine. You can pick anything that is a challenge to you, and you try to accumulate your time with it. Or it can be like, I'm going to do squats and push-ups for 10 minutes. Great, but if you stop and rest, stop the clock until you no longer have to stop the clock. So once you get to the point where whatever you're doing, you no longer have to stop the clock, awesome. Right, job well done. And you can measure your progress that way.
So the point is that we need to set milestones. If you don't know where you started, you don't know when you get to wherever you want to be. So set these little milestones, put the work in, and it can be 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes. These get-ups, 5-10 minutes a day, but make sure you have a way to measure your progress. Let's talk about crawling. So you are a little bit known in the fitness industry as the crazy dude that crawls forever.
Well, you're gonna be known for something.
Tim Anderson, who crawls on the street around the block and around Dan John's house, and the neighbors just don't know what's happening. You have a video still, is it still up on YouTube? Your 1 mile Spider-Man crawl. So 1 mile, it's 1,600 meters, so 1.6 kilometers.
Or 5,280 feet.
So that's a long way to go on your hands and feet. Why crawling, and what do we need to know about it?
So, well, crawling is an amazing movement. Matter of fact, we were all programmed to crawl, and that is a movement that was designed to get us strong enough to be on 2 feet and to conquer the world. It's also the foundation of our gait pattern, and really, so we're designed, the way the human body is designed is that your gait pattern keeps you strong and healthy, which means walking keeps you strong and healthy, if you walk right. And how do you know if you walk right? You crawl right. So, but crawling is also harder. It's not as efficient as walking, and it requires all 4 limbs to move together in a rhythmic, coordinated fashion, and it really ties your body together very, very well. It makes all your muscles do their job. It teaches your body where everything's at. It ties your body together. It strengthens your nervous system. It's like a fountain of youth, really. It turns back the clock. So it's a great way to, it's not easy, it's a simple way to restore your body and have the body that you want. Okay. That's why crawling.
Should we demonstrate what crawling looks like?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll go.
You
got
it? Okay.
I'll give it a go. Yep.
All right. So am I crawling with you, or are you crawling?
What? Please be in front.
So crawling is a contralateral movement because it's the foundation of our gait pattern, which all that means is that your opposite arm moves with your opposite leg together in a fluid-like motion, or at least it's supposed to. So as a child, as babies, we learn how to crawl on our hands and knees. And then baby gets a little bit stronger, and you'll see them, they get on their hands and their feet. But the point is that the opposite arm and leg are rhythmically moving together, like so. And what happens is, when we do this, it really strengthens resilient shoulders, strong hips, fluid motion, but all the stabilizers in your joints learn how to stabilize the joints, and all the movers around the joints learn how to move your body. So it's like, again, it's like rocking. It just makes the whole symphony just beautiful. Everything's playing together in harmony.
That was 10 meters. It takes so much energy to crawl for 10 meters, right?
Very inefficient.
This morning, these guys put me through their Bulletproof test, and the last part of the test was to crawl for 5 minutes without putting my knees down. I'll tell you, I need a huge breakfast after that test. It's a lot harder than it looks, a lot harder. So that's crawling.
I will tell you this one secret about crawling. It's a great way to make hard things very easy, no matter what they are. Because crawling, once it becomes easy, everything's easy.
Let's crawl for a coffee then.
We can do that.
I'll see you later, guys.
This better be a good coffee. Look at that rhythm. Keep going. Oh, he's going out the door. I didn't know we were still going.
One level down to the floor. You like moving people around on the floor?
Yes.
So what is the second thing you want to teach me?
So the second thing I would teach you, like I'm going for biggest bang for the buck here. Like if I could just do 3 things that would change your life forever, this is how I would do it. Second thing would be rocking on your hands and knees on the floor. Simply getting on all fours, holding your head up, keeping your chest up. so that your back is nice and flat like a silverback gorilla.
Sweet.
That's it right there. Now, and the reason that I would do this is because this is where strength is built reflexively on the ground. And when we rock back and forth here, we're doing so many wonderful things for the body. We're activating the vestibular system through motion, but we're also telling the body where all the joints are and how they're all designed to move together as one whole body. So this actually is like putting all the instruments in a symphony together to create beautiful music. Every major joint is learning how to play together and move together rhythmically and fluidly. So that there is no one ankle. There is a body that has 2 ankles, 2 knees, 2 hips, 2 shoulders, 2 wrists, and a spine. And they all know how to dance and play together. And reflexively, it turns on all the right switches so that everything works the way it's supposed to. All your stabilizers of your joints know how to stabilize, and your prime movers know how to move. Basically, that simple movement can set you free to move in any way you want.
Not a very difficult movement, guys, but just let me point out a few things. I don't know if you noticed I position my feet. So my toes are all tucked in. So a lot of guys I've trained and I see can't actually bend their toes.
Right.
And I'm gonna, just give me a second, I'm gonna remove my shoes for the sake of talking about this, because this is very, very important. And it's not accidental that we included toe and ankle mobility in our Fortified program. And I'm so glad Tim is backing me up on the importance of these seemingly useless little things that we don't even see all day because we put them in those shoes, right?
Toes are so important.
So this is what I did. You can also rock like this,
yes.
Right? So it's still very beneficial.
Very beneficial.
But, you know, what happens if you can't do that thing?
If you can't get on your toes,
Fix it.
how do I fix it?
Yeah.
I would have you rock in a different way.
Okay.
And I would have you, well, I would try a couple of things. One would be
Mm-hmm.
could you sit like this? Because if you can sit like this, then I can have you lean forward and rock down Now I'm having you go through your whole foot, and you're finding your toes there. So if you don't have the mobility to get there here, we can try to coax it out of you by putting you in a different position and allowing gravity to help you out there.
And based on your understanding and knowledge of movement and training, why do we need to be able to bend those toes? Why is it so important that the toes actually bend? Because a lot of people can't do that anymore.
All your moving joints are designed to move for a reason, because they're designed to move, and that allows for an efficient moving body. If they weren't designed to move, they wouldn't move. So if you lose the ability to move a joint that is designed to move, that means other joints in your body have to make up for the loss of that movement, which means they are now going to start to work in a way that they weren't intended to. They're going to have to work harder, and the forces that your body generates, which start at the foot, because we walk on our feet, those forces do not travel efficiently through your body like they should if the joints don't move. And if the very first joints that don't move are the first ones that touch the ground, or you're creating a lot of problems in your body that just wouldn't be there if your toes would move. So, and the other thing is the better your toes move, the better let's say this a different way. If your toes move well, your knees move well, your hips move well, your shoulders move well, and maybe your jaw doesn't hurt. It's crazy, I know. But good moving toes make a good moving body. Basically.
Yes, that's what. Don't forget, guys, in the human body, everything is connected to everything. You don't expect your body to move much better just because you do bicep curls 3 times a day. These little things are way more important.
Toes matter. The toes know. Toes know.
Great. So that was the second one. What is our third movement?
So the biggest bang for your buck, you're like, I only want you to show me 3 things, but I want them to change my life forever. Well, okay. The third thing I would show you would be what I call up and over. And I'll show you how to do it, and then you can play with it. There's no one way to do this. As a matter of fact, the more creative you are, the better off you are to do this. But it's called up and over because I start out on my back, and I want to get up and somehow over my body. And I can stand up in between, and then I come back down. Standing up is important too. And I end up on my belly. Now, I went up and over. Now I want to go up and over again, but now I'm going from my belly over my body again, and I can stand up in between again to my back. And so, the more creative I am on how I want to do this, whether I want to do it like Spider-Man or however I want to do it, but the more you do it, the more gaps you fill in your strength. And you become stronger and stronger and stronger. And you can do this on the ground. And all it takes is a little bit of time, a little bit of space. And then, however you want to play with getting up to back down, it's just up and over. But if you're creative, you can tie everything together. 10 minutes of that, have a great day. You're going to feel good. You're going to move amazing. And you'll be strong. So you start on your back, you get up, you transition over your body somehow. However you do that, it's however you do that. That's up to you. And then you can stand up in the middle. So we went up and we went over, and then we're going to end up on our belly. And then we're going to do the same thing, but now we're starting from our belly. So however we decide to get up, to go over, I'm going over my body now in that squat again. Back to however you want to play with going back to your back. And again, the more creative you are, the more fun you can have, the stronger you're going to get. The more things you'll discover. It's just a great way to tie everything together so that you move well and feel amazing. You can do it. There's no wrong way to do it other than just not doing it. But it's a fun way to play. 10 minutes of this, you'll feel awesome. Up and over.
Okay. Let's see. So I start lying on my back.
So you have to start on your back, and you get up and over.
So that's how we go down.
Yep. And then you end up on your belly. And now you get up and over from your belly, go back to your back. And then you just play with it and see how many different ways you can do it, or see if you can discover your favorite way to do it. Whatever way you think gives you the biggest bang for your buck. Feeling froggy, put a little disco music on and see if you can do it to the rhythm of the beat.
You can play with this all day.
Yeah, you can. It can be a fantastic training session if it's on.
I think I did 3 or 4. Heart rate is already elevated. So don't underestimate these guys just because there are no shiny bars and shiny machines around. Moving our own body weight is oftentimes the hardest thing we can do for training. So, and it's a very important one because you become master of your body. You can train other ways, no problem with that, but this is where the foundation is. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.